Like if you found the video valuable. Emily Ross had only been in New York City for 3 weeks when she noticed something strange about the building she'd moved into. It wasn't the creaky stairs or the flickering hallway lights. Those were expected in an old walk-up in Brooklyn. It was the silence of apartment 6B. Her own unit, 6A, shared a wall with it. And that wall, no matter the hour, offered no signs of life. No muffled music, no footsteps, no clatter of dishes or even a cough. Odd, considering the building's manager had told her the place was occupied. She first grew curious when she received a package mistakenly addressed to 6B. It was a brown envelope, no return address. She knocked on the neighbor's door. No answer. She tried again later in the evening. Still nothing. Eventually, she slid the envelope under the door. But it stayed there. For 3 days. Emily, a freelance journalist with a nose for stories and trouble alike, couldn't shake the feeling. Her work had taken her through crime scenes, obscure politics, and the occasional small-town conspiracy, and her instincts rarely failed her. Curiosity became concern when she noticed a smell. Faint, acrid, and clinging to the hallway like smoke that wouldn't lift. She knocked again on 6B. Still no answer. She brought it up to Miguel, the building's super, a gruff older man who lived on the first floor. "She's quiet," he said. "Rent's paid. That's all I care about." Emily stared at him. "But what if she's hurt?" Miguel grunted and returned to fixing a radiator. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. The silence next door, once a background oddity, now buzzed in her brain like static. She opened her laptop and searched city records. Apartment 6B was rented by a woman named Valerie Hart, age 36, occupation unknown. That's all she could find. The next day, she knocked again. And again. The envelope still lay by the threshold. Finally, she made a call, not to the police, but to her editor at the Ledger, the online publication she freelanced for. "You think something happened to her?" her editor asked. "I think it's worth checking out. Then write it. But be careful." Emily decided to stake it out. She stayed in her apartment all day, listening for any noise. At 3:12 a.m., there was a sound, not from 6B, but from the hallway. She peeked through the peephole. A man in a gray hoodie stood outside 6B. He wasn't knocking, just standing, his head tilted slightly, as if listening through the door. Then he slipped something from his pocket and unlocked it. Emily's breath caught. The door creaked open. The man entered and closed it quietly behind him. She grabbed her phone and waited. 5 minutes, 10, 20. She never heard the door open again. In the morning, the door to 6B was shut tight. The envelope had vanished. Emily's article began to take shape. The Woman Who Wasn't There, a Brooklyn Mystery. The headline wasn't accurate yet, but she was about to change that. That evening, she knocked again. This time, with her phone recording. To her surprise, the door creaked open slightly. It was dark inside. Cold air swept out, smelling faintly of mildew and something else. Something metallic. "Hello?" she called, pushing the door open a little farther. No answer. She should have stopped there, but instinct, or maybe recklessness, pulled her in. The apartment was neat, too neat. The living room was staged like a real estate listing photo. Plastic flowers, bare shelves, dust-free surfaces. But the TV remote had batteries missing. The fridge had nothing but expired milk. There were no toothbrushes, no shoes by the door, no signs of someone living there. Emily turned on the flashlight on her phone and wandered into the bedroom. That's where she found it. On the far wall, behind the wardrobe, there was a large mirror, or what looked like one. But the reflection wasn't quite right. She stepped closer. It wasn't a mirror. It was a window, one-way glass, looking out from some other space behind the wall. And behind it, faintly illuminated by a dull red light, was a camera. Emily stumbled back. Her breath caught. She snapped a photo and backed out into the hallway, heart pounding. She called the police. The investigation that followed revealed the full horror. The apartment next to hers wasn't just abandoned, it had been staged. Valerie Hart had disappeared nearly 4 months earlier. Her mail had been redirected. Rent had continued, paid from an anonymous account. Behind the false wall was a narrow corridor, leading to a hidden room. A room where someone had been living. Recording. Watching. There were monitors, old hard drives, a bed, stained blankets, a cup with dried coffee at the bottom. And in one corner, a collection of items, a lock of hair, jewelry, personal effects belonging to at least 4 different women, including Valerie. The police traced the fingerprint from the cup to a man named Carson Fielder. He had no prior record, but he worked as a contractor, specializing in apartment renovations. One of his recent jobs? Remodeling Unit 6B. They caught him 2 days later, trying to flee the city. Emily's article went viral. The Woman in Apartment 6B. A Brooklyn horror story. It was picked up by major outlets. Podcasts discussed it. True crime fans dissected every detail. But Emily, even with all the recognition, couldn't sleep soundly. Because deep in the files retrieved from the hidden room, police found hundreds of hours of footage. Some old, some recent. One clip, timestamped the night Emily had moved in, showed her brushing her teeth, reading in bed, getting dressed. He had been watching her too. She moved out immediately, left Brooklyn, changed her number, started locking 3 deadbolts on every new apartment door. But even in her new home, thousands of miles away, she sometimes caught herself staring at her walls, tapping on them, listening, wondering, who's on the other side?